What was it like taking over from a founder CEO?
People like to focus in on Bill was CEO, you were CEO. This was kind of like my baby and Bill's baby, and we were growing it and nurturing it. He was kind of like the senior partner, I was the junior partner. If it's in the raising of children, I would say he was more, mom gets to decide more than dad, but, so I take great satisfaction in the things we accomplished throughout the time, not just when I became CEO. When I became CEO, we had a very miserable year. Bill didn't know how to work for anybody, and I didn't know how to manage Bill. I'm not sure I ever learned the latter. Things lightened up some, and then I would say my life changed a lot in 2008 when Bill actually left the company.
How so?
At that, Bill had asked me, he said, look, I'm happy to help you in any way, but I don't want you to need me, so I can come and go if you want me, great, but I have another life. And in a sense, I finally felt like, okay, we're not partners anymore. I have to take accountability. And I think I probably did some of my very best work at the company after Bill left, actually.
Really? Like what?
Pushed us into Bing, sustained that investment. That's really where we got into the cloud. We started what's now Office 365 in Azure after Bill left. We pushed into the hardware business with Surface, et cetera. And now Satya Nadella, my successor, is sort of taking things there to infinity and beyond, if you will.
How do you feel about being asked about your successes and your failures? What you're most proud of? What you're least proud of?
At this stage, I'm almost 3 years out. It's ancient history. Did I, have a lot of success? Yeah. Are there some things I wish I'd done differently? Of course. I started a company that had about $2.5 million of revenue and 30 people, and I left a company that had $22 billion in profit, and I feel like that net, pretty good success.
What's your relationship with Bill like today?
Yeah, we've kind of drifted apart. He's got his life, I sort of have mine. Microsoft was kind of the thing that really bound us. We started off as friends, but then really got quite enmeshed around Microsoft, and since I've gone, we really have drifted a little bit.
He wasn't happy about when you left suddenly, or, what really happened?
Well, it was definitely not a simple thing for either one of us. I think that at the end of the day, there are probably two things. A little bit of a difference in opinion on the strategic direction of the company, which I think is a challenge. And then number two, he and I had kind of always had what I would call brotherly relationship in the good parts and the bad parts, and I just think towards the end that was a bit more difficult than not, particularly with the strategic direction change, and the stock price wasn't going anywhere, so the rest of the board felt pressure, despite the fact that profits were going up. So I think you had kind of a combustible situation. And
does it ever bother you you don't get credit for that?
Sure and no. At the end of the day, I have the great sort of comfort of knowing what I did and feeling good about myself, and everything else doesn't really matter.
Where did you want to take the company? Where did he want to take the company?
I think there was a fundamental disagreement about how important it was to be in the hardware business. I had pushed Surface. The board had been a little reluctant in supporting it, and then things came to a climax around what to do about the phone business.
Satya Nadella was on stage recently where he said missing the mobile phone was one of the biggest mistakes in Microsoft's history. What would you have done differently?
I would have moved into the hardware business faster and recognized that what we had in the PC, where there was a separation of chips, systems, and software, wasn't largely going to reproduce itself in the mobile world. I wish I'd thought about the model of subsidizing phones through the operators. People like to point to this quote where I said iPhones will never sell. It was because the price of $600 or $700 was too high, and there was business model innovation by Apple to get it essentially built into the monthly cell phone bill. We should have been in the hardware business sooner in the phone case, and we were still suffering what I would call some of the effects of our Vista release of Windows, which sucked up a huge amount of resource for a much longer period of time than it should have because we stumbled over it. And when you have a lot of your best engineers sort of in a sense being non-productive for a while, it really takes a toll.
Would you have bought Nokia?
I certainly wanted to buy Nokia. The board at first disagreed with that and then came back and said the company should go ahead, even though I had decided to leave. I think it was, if executed in a certain way, I think it made a lot of sense. A company chose to go another direction, and that's the decision the company made.
Do you think they're wrong?
I see the stock price flying sky high, and all you can say is that the market certainly agrees with the direction Satya's taking the company, and I'm super excited about that.